For today, we're going to expand our polynomial multiplication. What we did the last couple days was find a product when you had a monomial on the outside of parentheses and either a binomial or trinomial or even more terms on the inside. But one of them was a monomial. And when you do this, you know you have to distribute and multiply that monomial that's on the outside by everything inside the parentheses. One comment, something to be careful of, if there's an x, please make sure you use an x to the first here, so that when you multiply this, you get 6x to the 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 6x times 11 is 66x. Okay, but we've done this the last couple of days. Today, what we're going to do is multiply a binomial by a binomial. Where binomials have two terms, just like a bicycle has two wheels. When you multiply a binomial by another binomial, you also have to distribute. Each term in the first binomial must multiply each term in the second binomial. I'm going to show you a couple different techniques for doing this today, and it's really up to you which you choose to use. So here's one way to keep track and make sure that each term in the first binomial multiplies each term in the second binomial. The first method is called the FOIL method. FOIL is just a quick way to remember what you're multiplying. So when you multiply these, you're going to have two sets of parentheses where each pair has two things in it. So the FOIL stands for, F is for first. When you multiply the first, you multiply the first thing in each set of parentheses times each other. O is for outer. When you multiply the outer things, you multiply the outside terms. I is for inner. You multiply the two inside terms, and then L is for last. You multiply the last in the first binomial times the last in the second. And this can look confusing here, but we're going to look at it with a couple examples. So if I want to multiply using FOIL, I do first, outer, inner, last. I multiply the first of the first binomial times the first of the second one. First times first. X times x is x squared. Then I do O is outer. X times 3 is 3x. I is inner. 2 times x is 2x. L is last. Last times last. 2 times 3 is 6. And when I use FOIL, I'm always going to get 4 terms to start, but then I want to check and see if there are any that are like terms that can be combined. Our final answer needs to have those terms combined. Here I have a 3x and a 2x. I can add those together to get 5x. My final answer is x squared plus 5x plus 6. So here you'll notice the x multiplied the x and multiplied the 3. The 2 multiply the 3 and multiply the x. Everything in the first binomial multiplied everything in the second one. Here's one more example using FOIL. First, x times x. Outer, x times 7. Inner, negative 5 times x. Again, the sign comes from whatever's right before that number or variable. That's minus 5x. Last, negative 5 times 7 is negative 35. There's my 4 terms. X squared doesn't combine with anything. I have positive 7x and minus 5x. 7 minus 5 is 2x, and then minus 35. And here's my final answer. So if I was using the FOIL method, I would show the 4 terms that I got and then combine my like terms, and this would be my work. So that's one method you can use for multiplying binomial times binomial. If that works for you, great. Here's another option. We can multiply by using boxes. And what we're going to do is we're going to set up a grid. Here I have x plus 2 times x plus 3. I make 2 boxes across and 2 boxes up and down. Each binomial goes either across or up and down. So x plus 2, for example, that's x plus 2, positive 2. And times x plus 3, x and positive 3. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply into each box. For those of you who are in biology, this might look, if you've done Punnett squares, it might look a little bit like that. So we're going to find what goes in each box and then combine that to get our answer. I multiply the x times the x to get x squared. Over here, I multiply x times 2, 2x. In this box, I multiply the 3 times the x. And in this last box, I multiply 3 times 2. All of those were positive, so all my products are positive. These are my 4 terms that in FOIL would have been written out all in one line. Now what I want to do is I want to add these together, and I want to write them. It's easiest if I write it in descending order. I want to combine any like terms if I do it. So I have an x squared. I have a 2x and a 3x. I'm going to add those together to get 5x. And then in this last box, I have positive 6. And here's my final answer. So if you're using boxes, the boxes are your work, and then your final answer has any like terms combined. Here's another couple example using boxes. It doesn't matter with the x plus 4 whether I do x plus 4 across or x plus 4 down, because remember with multiplication, the order that you multiply in is commutative. It doesn't matter whether you do a times b or b times a. So whichever way you're comfortable with, for example, I can do x plus 4, x plus 9. Multiply in each box. X times x is x squared. X times 4 is 4x. 9 times x, 9 times 4. Those are my 4 terms, but then my final answer is the trinomial I get when I combine any like terms. I have x squared. I have 9x plus 4x, which is 13x, and then I have the 36. Here's my final answer. One last example for today. X plus 3 times x minus 7. I have x plus 3 and x minus 7. I need to write this as a negative 7 here to make sure that I keep my signs correct. X times x is x squared. X times 3 is 3x. Negative 7 times x, negative 7x. Negative 7 times 3, negative 21. So keep the signs with that term. Then I'm going to combine anything I can. I have my x squared. I have negative 7x and positive 3x for a total of negative 4x. We combine like terms like we always do, add the coefficients, keep the exponent the same. Then I have the minus 21, and I'm done. So when you do your homework today, you're going to show whichever method you prefer to use. You can either FOIL or you can use boxes when you're multiplying binomial times binomial, but show me which way you're doing it.